Okay, it's Friday, December 1st at 3:45, and this is the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority Finance Committee meeting. And we will start with business items. Number 1A, October financials for 23. Abby, would you like to go over those?
Sure. We'll just do some high-level things so that we can spend a little bit more time if we need to on item 1B tonight. If we look at our statement of financial position, our accounts receivable regular is at 726. 97% of that is either current or 1 to 30 days. You will notice that our accounts receivable AEAS is 563. We've been paid all of that back. So, but that just keeps revolving as we have to pay Contour every month. Our accounts payable, our regular accounts payable is at 465. Our AES Contour is at 415, and our project AP is at 1.8. Of that 1.8, 795,000 has been paid. Another 80 has been paid, and just recently another 299 has been paid. So we're down to approximately $600,000 on the project accounts payable. We will have the retirement bill for the next finance committee meeting. That I believe is around $208,000, of which we have approximately 95,000 set aside. So we're about halfway to the new invoice. Are there any questions on the statement of financial position?
When are we ever going to complete that Malls F?
It is, we just did the closeout.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we did the closeout stuff documentation and sent a letter to FAA. And just need their signature in closing the whole thing out. So that's all.
Good.
Yes, that will be off the, out of here.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? You'll notice there that our first accounts payable vendor, we owe them more than that now. They have called me. What we are owed by the airline would more than cover what we owe for fuel, but we have not been paid from the airline. So we will now have to take the money that I would normally spend on medical insurance, commercial insurance, finance plan, and a couple of other things to pay this bill, or they will not be amenable to delivering fuel. So we need to get back on their case for not having paid their bills.
Now, explain that. This is the Ascent World Fuels,
This is Jet A fuel for the airport.
right? So what we have given to a particular vendor, they haven't paid for it?
Correct.
And how long has that been?
They're now out to 31 to 60. And I believe there's one invoice that's at 61 to 90.
Is this unusual?
It happens every so often that they seem to do a round robin. We've been out to over 90 before.
Okay.
So we have to start pushing on that vendor to make some payments.
I didn't think they were buying fuel.
They have months where they do and months where they don't. But there were months, there's one invoice out there for $79,000.
That should be a good thing. We should make money on that.
You do have a point.
So it's just a matter that we have to get the money flowing. We'll have to take it from some other source to pay that bill. And we're running into a few of those types of things now, as we do in the winter. We have one vendor that we can get away with paying usually 45 days. Well, because that vendor is doing work for one of our projects. If it's not paid within 30 days, they won't talk to our engineers. So I now have to push somebody else out 45 to 60 days to make sure those bills are paid in 20. So it's just, it's what we expected to happen and what we wrote about.
So we are at the point where we anticipated we would be at the end of the calendar year.
Mhm.
And from this point forward, it's going to be tougher for us to be as current as we have been in the past.
Or certain people that have to be current now are going to push other people down a little bit further.
Yeah, there's no wiggle room with before, with different things going on during the summer. There was a little more flexibility, so
Right.
it kind of hid the idea. But right now we're tight to where Patty's having trouble finding those things where we can kind of let things go a little bit and then catch up with them. We need to concentrate on the airport vendor, and we've talked about that. Because that would relieve
Some of our,
a big problem. Yeah.
And we have a conversation with Albany on Monday.
Yes. I believe it's 11 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
And we will inquire more as to DOB will be on the call,
good.
so we'll try to get an update on where we are. We'll probably talk a little bit about where we are with our budget.
Right.
Not numbers, but kind of
Right.
just process.
well, I have reached out to make sure that they don't need anything else from us.
What haven't we given them? Let's see.
I know.
And that's all right. I get it. They ask for financial information. We give it to them. They should have a pretty good idea of where we are and where we're heading, because we've talked about it. We're now where we afraid we would be at this time. So let's just hope we can work something out.
And sometimes it's not too bad if I know we're going to get reimbursed for something, so if
Right.
we're paying a project invoice, that's one side of it. But the other side is there are some bills now that are just simply expenses. So for me to borrow from myself, if you will,
Right,
I'm not really borrowing because I'm not going to get some of this money back.
right. Okay.
Our budget to actual, not much has changed since last month. Everything that's been under budget is still under budget for the most part. You'll notice under bridge maintenance expense that the month is over, but the year is still under. What has made the month over is we have received the bridge inspection invoice for this year, which always comes in a huge lump sum, but then evens out as the rest of the year goes on. And the same with maintenance expense under the airport. We just had the,
Line streams.
thank you,
Oh.
the striping on the runway.
Right.
So that invoice just came in, which is why the month and the year are over budget. Everything else is pretty much as it was last month.
Mhm.
Are there any questions about budget to actual figures?
I don't have any. Because you've been pretty close with most of the stuff.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Sam?
Good.
You want to go for cash flow or is that, you're really kind of covered?
No. I memorized it, it's
Thank
okay.
you. I left mine in the office.
I delivered it.
Everything is pretty much as we expect. It's always good when you're doing a cash flow, because by the time you see October is pretty much an actual.
Mhm.
So we're able to build out a little easier. What you notice in other income is usually a month behind what we paid out under OBPA grant portion and capital expense. So if we pay something out in October, we will see it either in November, December, or January. So it's really a timing thing. What's on the bottom gets paid later on the top.
Which is why we have such a change between December and January for other income.
Yes, yes. We don't expect any reimbursements to come in December.
Mhm.
And then, yes, we have some reimbursements. Should be hefty reimbursements coming in January. With Christmas, one doesn't expect to see too many of the
Right.
reimbursements get done as quickly as you'd like.
Right.
But it's still, we are going to finish the year, that's March of '23. We're actually, or March of '24, we're actually finishing a little bit better than we anticipated.
I mean, relatively speaking.
Right.
Well, wasn't it, what, 3.1,
One,
Point something.
3099.
750 maybe better than we thought?
But
Which,
remember, all of that is deferrals.
yeah.
And you'll notice January's debt expense, that is the time when we pay the interest on the bond.
Yep.
January and July.
Is the question for you, is that accumulated and then we just pay out of that?
Yes,
In other words, we've been putting money
that's
into
the
that.
38,000 we
it's
have to pay every month.
Right, but it's accounted for. It isn't like we're going along, then all of a sudden the payment's there, we've got to find it.
No, no, no,
Okay.
that's all those two
Yeah.
payments that we have to pay.
We account for them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so the money's always there.
yeah.
And whatever they don't need for interest. The payment really never changes with that bank. It's just how much is principal and how much is interest. So whatever isn't used for interest is still there to be used for the principal in July.
good.
Okay, thank you, Patty. You want to move into budget review?
After going through what we went through DOB recently, I said it's about time we stepped up our game on the budget. What we used to do was just simply send them all of our work pages. And we're looking for help, so I said, well, it's time for us to let me know what we're doing. So we've changed the format. I basically took the Thruway Authority. I liked the way they formatted theirs, so I took theirs and came up with something similar for us. I feel that we do need a first page to say who we are after you do the cover page, and it's the information that we use for the audit that says we were incorporated here, we added here, and these are the things we've done this year. And that's the sort of thing that would be a good opening to this, to the budget, tells them who we are. And I notice the Thruway Authority does it every year, so it's not like they don't know who the Thruway Authority is. So, but they also have a certification from the CFO stating that they have followed, they've done estimates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we may want to just have something that either the executive director or myself could sign stating that, we have reviewed all the procedures and our estimates and we're comfortable with them. So the first page, the first page is really quite high level and just says that our budget is 11,643,551. That includes 9.3 for operations, 1.2 for debt, 800 for OVPA's portion of various projects, and 224 for capital expenditures. Then we go in and just discuss the traffic and toll revenues, how we're coming up with our figures. We've had some spikes, but crossings seem to remain consistent around the 80% mark. I think while it would make the budget look good if we went to 85%, I don't think we'll hit it. We're not hitting it around the holidays as much as we thought, so I think we'd be just making it look good to add that. The third bullet point, the 11.6 reflects a 3.4 reduction from the 23-24 budget, in large part to the change in AEAS. What I think we need to add under that, because nowhere in this budget does it actually state what our loss will be. You have to do the math.
Are you looking for direction?
Yes, do you think that? Because if you go to the next page, you see our sources of funds, and then 2 pages later, you see our uses of funds. And if you subtract one from the other, you get the deficit. I don't know if we need to state it somewhere and be upfront about it.
I don't, because I'm not familiar with the precedent you're following there. I like this law. It's very, very good. You did a good idea. Excellent. So I would state it. Because, that's,
I agree.
Okay,
there's no sense in letting people have even a glimpse of mystery.
Right.
yeah.
Good way to put it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can put that as the following bullet point prior to doing project expenses.
Mhm.
And that gives them the actual deficit for the year will be 2.5, down from 3.1. So, I mean, Steve and I did a lot of deferring of capital that could bite us later if,
Eventually it will. Just.
I think I did mention it in our expense portion that the budget assumes only a total of $224,000 to support the capital plan. This conscious reduction reflects the deferral of many capital projects with the knowledge that at any time, one of these deferrals may become a necessity for which the funds will not be budgeted. So we're stating it right there that we're deferring a lot of what we probably should be doing, but at any point, an HVAC unit, a roof, something is going to need to be fixed.
Yep. Yep.
And then I felt that it was, because we discussed the AEAS in the budget, I felt it was necessary that we put something in here so that DOB understands the difference between EAS and AEAS, and how come September, after the rebid, whether we stay with our current airline or go with a new airline, we will be going back to EAS, so therefore the budget changes
Is that
drastically.
a given that we would go back to
Mhm.
EAS? It is. a
Right,
given.
Charlie? Did he go?
Get this stuff out.
Oh,
That's a given.
yes. Just
Yeah,
That's the way the system works.
Right, we went to EAS just by the nature of who we could find for airlines, especially when it came to jet service, if you recall.
Yep.
We didn't want to give that up, so the only one that was kind of in the running was Contour.
So I think discussion just lets everybody know why the budget changes drastically come September of next year. The next page, this is a very high level. It doesn't say total revenue is total revenue, and that one's easy. We're assuming 80%. We assumed, I think, 81 last time. We're only down $4,000, so not too upset with that. Rental income is all rental income, no matter where it is. On this one, we just talked about the high level figures, not the departmental budget. So this is airport, port, Commerce Park, and this building. Airport income is everything but fuel sales and AEAS. They do not make a great deal on their own, just like the airlines, ramp fees and landing fees.
that's mostly GA then.
Then we have the fuel sales, and we brought it back down to a reasonable, and I believe the fuel sale income was based on early 22-23 actual surge in fuel sales that at budget time was anticipated to carry through the fiscal year. Fuel sales did not remain artificially high, so the 24-25 budget figure is more in line with the actuals. So that was what prompted that change. AEAS drops off drastically after September, so we're only paying for a half a year of the AEAS income expense. Marine terminal, we expect a little bit of an increase there, and railroad income, we leave static because it's based on the number of rail cars that go through every year, so we know we'll get at least 18,000.
On the marine terminal income, it kind of mirrors the year, but this year was basically quiet, no wind, no big things. Salt was very good. We expect almost a mirror image of that for this year. That's why that is. But if you were to throw a wind project in there, that really changes that number. But the reason they're kind of is that everything we anticipate for the next year is almost going to be the same. And unless we get another, the transformer project helped, that wasn't there, but we didn't throw in anything in there that we weren't sure of. There's a number of things we're talking about, and it would only be good if they would actually become real. So just to let you know why that number is kind of just a real normal year, let alone any cargo projects and things like that.
Now, I did take out wind turbine, which we carry on our internals. We can put it in the budget with a 0, or we can leave it out.
If we don't anticipate a wind project, why would we put it in?
Okay. And then this,
That was, but past,
Pardon me?
way back past practice was to always
Yes.
throw one in, and more than not, it took care of a lot of sins at the budget time, but at the very end, it became problematic. So I agree with you. I think we should leave it out.
the
Thank you,
next
Danny.
page, we have a nifty pie chart
Wow.
as to where our income comes from. Now, just think, next year we'll not have AEAS, so this will look extremely different than it does now. For railroad income only comes in at 0.2, so it doesn't
See it.
even register. Then we go on to our uses of funds, the expense summary for the year. And just as with the income, salaries, that's all salaries across the board. So it's not departmentalized, benefits, maintenance, all of these, except a couple that are delineated, the airport fuel and the airport AEAS. It's everybody combined. Salaries will go up. We do have a collective bargaining agreement with the union, and that word has to change from unit to agreement. That requires the anticipated increase. The authority has 5 open positions that it will not fund or fill in 24, 25.
Can you list what those are the next time we discuss this?
Yes,
I'm sorry to hear, what was that?
he would like me to delineate those later,
Those positions?
those positions.
Okay.
Later.
Yeah, they're a form of deferment.
Right.
So this is our debt service. Our debt service, of course, will go down. We've lost 2 loans. We paid them off. One was paid off early. The other one ran its course, so
We anticipate.
we're little by little. And you'll notice the reduction in our capital expense, but you'll notice the increase in the portion of our project expense as we get into the airport and port project in earnest. And then the next page shows how everything is used. And this is not unusual. Most organizations have at least what we have in salaries and benefits as a percentage of overall expenditures.
Is that number good because we don't have those 5? Obviously, it's better because we don't have those 5 positions. But if we had those 5 positions, would that throw us into an unreasonable percentage
No.
for salaries? Doesn't put us in another group, you know?
No, but if you took the EAS out, it would change that percentage.
Again,
Yeah.
yes, it will. Next year,
Right.
the AEAS will be gone, so everybody's percentage will go up.
But we're in line with,
We're in line with
Okay.
what other people do. Then we have our debt service, and I was a little bit more in depth than some of the other authorities that I read. But it gives us a chance to show that we paid off a couple of things. Small though they may have been, we paid them off.
that's the 0 part.
Yes, that's the 24-25 budget. And you can see we have a number of things that are in 2026 will be gone. We have the land mortgage, we have the loan. And there's something wrong with the parking promissory note is 2027.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's, so it's done.
That piece.
So in the form of an ask.
Yes.
So this is where we stand with them all. The airport mortgage comes up in 28. The term loan, we did finish, that was finished early. And the bond there we see on the bottom. This only includes actual loans. As I state on the bottom, that there either are or will be lines of credit whose interest is not included up above, it's included in our general expenses.
These are just so we can do our projects at the port and the airport pretty much.
Yes, and as soon as we get reimbursed, we reimburse the line. When the project's over, they all disappear.
Just for liquidity.
Right.
I hate to call it bridge funding because everybody thinks if you're on a bridge, it's a bridge. It's gap funding.
Gap money.
Then we go into our departmental budgets. I am going to center these and then put the 2 notes from the bottom where they belong. So the Bridge in Commerce Park has a note that only a portion of the salary is charged to Commerce Park, and that's the Director of Economic Development. Otherwise, all salaries, benefits, and most equipment expense is recorded in the bridge budget, though it's shared with the Commerce Park. Therefore, our bridge loss is covered by our partner in the Commerce Park. And the marine terminal and the railroad are the same. We use the same staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the only one that unfortunately stands on its own is the airport. And the only reason its loss is so high is we've added debt service into the departmental budget where it belongs. The bridge takes on the first instance advance from New York State, and the rest of it belongs to the airport. So I'll be sure.
Was that delayed this year?
We'll ask for another
Yeah,
delay.
Right.
Yeah.
But we did for this.
Mhm.
Okay.
And what we've added to, and I have the appendix if anybody wants to see it, but what I did was I took all of the pages, we have all the pages that have everything we use to create our
Right.
assumptions in the back of it.
That's in this.
That's in the big
Yeah,
one.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions on the first 9 pages? There are many things we can add to it. The one authority I looked at had a personnel graph. And they're in the 2000s of the people they hire. And they had 2,300 positions that they filled and then 400 that were vacant. And they show how the graph goes down from year over year. Ours would be in the 10, 20s, and 30s, not the 2000s and 3000s. But they have that graph. They have a graph that shows another pie chart that shows where the staff is. Things like that we could add to this if you'd like for this year. But I think this is the beginning to build out and to some of the authorities discuss the goals that they've achieved in the current year, what their goals are for the next year. And I think if we're going in the direction we're going in, that we need to be a little bit more out there. I mean, we always know what the assumptions are, but DOB doesn't always know what the assumptions are, so I think it's important that we start to get them in the.
Well, most of our MC people are relatively new.
Mhm.
I mean, the executive director isn't a new employee, but he's a relatively new executive director. It's a good point as we move forward.
This is really good to provide that, I think. That's, when I saw that, boy, that's really a job well done.
Yeah.
As employee turnover and whatever happens, it's very good to have that information.
Yes.
It's been very clear right over time, so I think this is very good. And if anything you can add to that is probably
Okay.
worth a lot.
Yeah, and you're immersed in the numbers, the way Patty does them. So when you read that, it's not very difficult for you because you're familiar with all parts of that. So we figured when it comes to DOB too, they've been involved with everything. So we feel like, kind of like you said, it will mean more to them rather than having to look at a number and then come out and then give that explanation to
Right.
them. So and this was all Patty's idea, and I think it's very good also.
It's a great idea. I commend you for getting that done.
Yeah.
And she actually
As usual, a job well
she needed to do it with a smile too. So,
Well, it's like forensic accounting.
Yeah. yeah,
Pie chart.
I know you like that stuff.
Something wrong with my life. A pie chart is exciting.
Excel's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
She's good at it.
Well, it is, particularly when you can do some of that. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's good for, where we sit as a finance committee, but as the board, prior to whatever, it's just very helpful to understand. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yeah, any other? anything else?
No, very well done.
This time, Mr. Chairman, there's a need to go into executive session for matters relating to section 105F of the Open Meetings Law. That would be the medical, financial, or credit history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. And we don't anticipate any action by formal vote be taken. So at this time, you guys are excused for the weekend?
I move we go into executive session.
Okay, thank you. And so motion's been made, I'll second, and so all those in favor
Aye.
say aye. Yeah, we will go into executive session.
Wagner?
Yes.
Okay,
Just
we're out
a
now.
question before you go.
Okay, it's 4:58 and we've gotten done with executive session and we have no action to follow. With that, is there any other business to come for the finance committee?
No, Mr. Chairman.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
In light of that, I move we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn, it's 4:58.
Thank you.